Hey guys, welcome to the vlog. My name is MisterET, and in today's episode, we start buttoning up everything. So all the wiring, all the hoses, all the mechanical pieces that need to be reconnected for this thing to actually start. So we've got a tremendous amount of work ahead of us. So let's get started reinstalling everything. Stay tuned. By the way, if you're new to the channel, this is going to be episode 7 of the series. There's a full playlist on the engine removal install on this Mazdaspeed3 project. So if you want to see more, look at the playlist, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. There's a lot more episodes to come on this, and there's a lot of episodes before this one, so lots of good content for you guys. So guys, look at this. We've made some very decent progress today. So as you can see, the engine is fully back in the engine bay. It's held by its motor mount here. It's held by the motor mount that's underneath here. It's held by the one at the back. All the connectors pretty much at the top of the engine, at the back over here. Everything that goes underneath and all of these things here, everything is pretty much reconnected. If we look at the front here, the shift linkage, the clutch line, starter, all of the hoses, everything on the front here has been reconnected as well. And now we're getting to the point where we're going to be reinstalling the front of this car. And that's the radiator, the condenser, the not the intercooler in this case, but basically everything that goes on the front of the car. So let's go on a time lapse and do that. So we've done a few more things. So this is all clipped in here. These lines are now fully back in place. This bottom one is in place as well. AC lines are all hooked up. That's going to need to be filled back up. There's a bunch of sensors here that I need to plug back in. There's a few sensors that I need to plug back in here. There's basically this little pipe here that will go across these once I've finished hooking everything up over here. Then we've hooked this back up. This is all back in here. This is all back in here. These are good. These are clipped in. This is back in. The sensors on the front here are all back. And I've hooked up the latch again. So we've actually bolted also these down on each side. So let's continue assembling this. I'm going to go underneath the car and try and hook up some of these sensors. So guys, it's the next day and look at this thing. We've made some tremendous progress. So this is all fully reinstalled. So the bolts are back in, the airbox is back in, all of this is back in, the ECU's plugged in, The intercooler is back on. Everything at the top here has been reinstalled, reconnected. Had some issues with one of the plugs in the back here. Was trying to find that one, and I found out that it was an injector plug that's all the way underneath over here. Don't know why I had disconnected that, but that was fun to find. And then the AC condenser one I had lost as well, and found it a little bit further and was able to reconnect that. So the AC is fully back on. All of these are back on as well. So I've only got the cover, the battery, and then the cover for the battery to reinstall in the engine bay. Aside from that, I've got, of course, the headlights, the rebar, the front bumper, all of these shields underneath. And now the next step for me is going to be to reinstall all these suspension pieces and get the axles back into the transmission. Well guys, after lots of effort, as you can see, this thing is all buttoned up. So the brake caliper is all the way back on, the brake disc is there, the axle nut is there, it's buttoned up on the back. Everything is holding on to these brackets here. The axle, as you can see, is back in. The this here for the steering is back in as well. And auto tie rod, I believe. Little pin is back in there. The 14 mil at the bottom is back in there as well. On the top here, we weren't missing that much earlier, but we've basically got the engine cover that's on. Everything is buttoned up, as I was talking about. And on this side, it's the same. So the axle is all the way back in. Everything is connected on here as well. And so basically all we have to do now is reinstall the front of this and then put some fluids in it. So let's get going on the front. And just like that, the headlights are back in as well. All that's left now is the front bumper. But before we go into installing the front bumper and everything, I will be filling up the transmission with transmission fluid, as well as doing the engine oil and everything while we have access to everything. So guys, whenever you're filling up a transmission that is gravity fed, you're usually going to need one of these if you're filling it from underneath. So you basically put this inside of this and you pump away until you have this thing filled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So there's a fill bolt and there's a drain bolt. So the drain bolt is at the bottom of the transmission. And the fill bolt is actually this guy over here. So I've already drained the transmission, of course, before removing the engine and the transmission the first time. So what I'm going to do now is just remove this plug here, and this is where I'm going to pump the fluid through. So after the transmission fluid, next up, engine oil. We're putting some good old-fashioned Mazda 5W30 synthetic motor oil in this engine. And let me just look up very quickly how many quarts this takes, and I'll be able to throw that in there. So I've now got 5 quarts of oil in this engine, and I've looked online and there's a bunch of different places. Some say it needs 5, some say it needs 5.5, some say it needs as much as 6 quarts. Now this was completely removed and installed, so usually when you do an engine swap it takes a little bit more oil than just doing a regular oil change. So I'm thinking my Mazda dealership didn't give me enough oil. So let me have a look at the dipstick here. So hopefully you guys can see this. We're just a little bit above half. So we're gonna need a little bit more oil. Next up, coolant. So for this to work, we're gonna have to circulate everything through the motor. So we're gonna complete doing the coolant once we start the engine. So quick change of shirt. I had to go to Canadian Tire, get a .3 brake fluid so I could bleed the clutch. Now that that's done, the clutch is working perfectly. I've started adding some coolant. I'm now on the second jug here, and I'm just about ready to start this car. The only thing I'm missing really is the battery and the front bumper. So I'm gonna reinstall both, and then we're gonna try this thing. Take 2 on the battery. So this thing was on the outside and it needed to be on the inside, so moved it. Now negative. There we go. So this is now reconnected. All we're missing is a quick 10 mil on there. Get everything tight. So that is not moving. So battery's back in. Got everything back on there. All we're missing now is the front bumper. Well guys, as you can see, she's just about done. The bumper's back on, everything is back on. Even the cover here for the battery, the hood is back on as well. Everything is functioning, everything is reconnected. We just need to cycle the coolant as well as refill the AC, and we're just about there. The only real thing that is left is getting the under trays reinstalled, and I'm going to do that next time because my neck is killing me right now. I don't know what I did earlier, but I'm having trouble moving it right now, so I'm not going to go on my back and finish that off here. But I thought before finishing off this video today, I would leave you off with this. So guys, as you can see, she's done. So in our next video, we install some winter tires on this thing, we drop it back down on the ground, and we give you guys an idea of how it drives. Stay tuned.